are the champion, the one that holds the line and finishes the mission. Everything that you want is within your grasp. You wake up in the morning ready to dominate the day, and every step taken is with purpose and integrity. Because you were not put on this planet to live a mediocre existence. You are here to conquer and make the biggest impact possible, not only for yourself, but for your family and for your tribe. This world is a battlefield, and we will be victorious. This is the Norse Mentality.
What's up, guys? I hope that you are having a glorious day. Today, me and Cowboy Cody here are going to talk about how to set your future self up for success and why that's so important. Well, we know why it's important, because we want to have a better life. The issue here, though, is that I don't feel like enough people do enough critical thinking that is required to set themselves up for success. And the reason for that is because we live in a very distracted world. We're not future thinking. We're not even present. I mean, yeah, we're here, but we're not actually thinking. We're not actually taking in what's happening around us. We're on our phones, we're watching TV, whatever it may be, we are distracted as a society. And as a result, we are not setting goals and we are not ambitious towards where we want to go later on down the road. So in order to set yourself up for success, you need to be living in the present moment by doing critical thinking about where you want to go and then develop the steps in order to get there. Now, the first step in order to do that, I think, is planning. Taking the time to sit down and plan out where you want to be a year from now, 6 months from now, hell, 10 years from now, where do you want to be? I've even gone as far as like whenever I'm 50, I'm 32 right now, I can visualize where I'm going to be when I'm 50. And I think about it pretty often. When I'm laying in bed at night, that's what's running through my head, is that visual of where I'm going to be when I'm 50. And over the next 20 years, I also have a roadmap of where I need to be going in order to get there, right? What actions do I need to take?
I mean, I know me and you kind of think similarly on this, but I don't want to be doing that when I'm 50, or I don't want to hit 50 and be like, well, damn, I mean, if I live to 100, half my life's gone and I'm not nowhere near where I wanted to be.
Well, that's how so many people are living life, though. I mean, think about how many people we grew up with. Now we're in our 30s, you're about to be 30, and their life is nowhere near as amazing as they thought it was going to be. But it could have been. My life is 10 times better than I ever could have possibly imagined. But the reason for that is because I've always set those goals. Where do I want to go? What do I want to accomplish? Then how the fuck do I get there? And it's making that very clear and keeping it top of mind at all times. Well, how do I do that? I write it down every morning and every night. That's why it's in the Norse Planner. We get messages about that from people that buy us. Why is goals on there twice? And so you can write it down first thing in the morning. That way it's top of mind as you're going throughout your day. And then it's also the last thing that you think about before your head hits the pillow at night. But this is also why I do all of my next day planning the night before. Because as soon as my feet hit the floor in the morning, I want to know what needs to start getting done in order for me to attain these goals that I've set for myself. And some of these are goals I've been working towards for over a year now. And the reason that I'm still working towards them is because I always write it down. I'm always thinking about it.
I think that's where a lot of people go wrong too. They hear the word future and they think like in years almost. But future you is a couple hours from now, a couple days from now,
it's
tomorrow.
A minute from now in all reality.
I mean, that I think is a big hindrance too. Well, you know, I'm thinking a year from now, I still have time to get this done, you know?
You don't have time though.
Yeah,
You're
right.
going to wake up one morning and you're going to realize that your life has already passed you by and you did nothing with it. And that's heartbreaking. When I see that in people, it breaks my heart.
I think that's a big problem that a lot of people have, and it just derails them completely. Like, let's just take in consideration the midlife crisis, you know? It happens in your 40s. Well, you've spent all this time maybe working a job that you thought benefited you that didn't, and you wake up one day and you're 42 years old and you're just not where you want to be.
You haven't accomplished anything.
No.
You had all these goals in your early 20s and then you just forgot about them and you just drifted through life. That is the last thing that you need to do, is drift through life. You need to experience life. Well, how do you experience life? By taking the actions right now and then moving towards an objective. deciding where you want to be and what actions you need to take in the present moment. Let's take working out as an example. The reason that we work out isn't so we can pack on a bunch of muscle right now or so we can be healthy right now, because that's not the way it works. It takes time to develop muscle. It takes time to lose fat. It takes time for your cardiovascular health to get better. Why are we doing that? Because a part of us wants to be healthier in the future. We want to be stronger in the future. We want to be juicier in the future. So even in the gym, we are setting ourselves up for success. Whenever we eat healthy food, why are we eating healthy food? It's so future us can be in the best shape possible, so we can live as long as possible, so we can have the most energy and eliminate brain fog. That way we can stack cash at work and be there for our family and not just feel like a zombie all the time, because that's what people feel like when they eat McDonald's every day and shit like that. But they've been doing it for so long that they don't even realize it now. They have forgotten how it actually feels to be healthy, and being unhealthy is the new normal for them. And it is normal because all of society is doing it. Everyone around you is unhealthy. I was at the airport the other day because I just got back from Reno. I remember I was sitting in, dude, Reno is...
The airport is a lawless place.
Oh my God. I haven't flown in a while. I used to fly every couple weeks, and I think it's been like 6 months or so since I have last. But I was in the airport, and I remember looking around the airport, and this was the Dallas airport. It was super nice. I was like, this is very future looking. This is cool. And then I was looking at the people in the airport. I'm like, mankind is creating such cool technology, innovations and stuff like that. But we as a species are in worse shape than we've ever been. We're putting more effort into external things than we are ourselves. And this was everyone around me, hundreds and hundreds of people in my sight at this airport, and not a single one of them were healthy. And I'm not the healthiest either. I'm not like trying to fucking ride a horse or anything here. If that's not even the figure of speech, but either way,
Trying to
I'm not riding
get off
a horse,
your high
guys.
horse, Andy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm in peak performance, because I'm definitely not. There's
Right.
things that I can do that would set me up for success as well, right? Future success. But at the same time, it was very evident that no one there gave a shit about their health. And the reason they don't care about their health now is because they're not thinking about future them. And the reason that this whole thought process started and why I wanted to do this episode is because this has been on my mind since I was in the airport. Why do people not care? Because this is the kind of shit that goes through my head. This is why I have this podcast. This is why I started Norse Fitness. Is because I'm intrigued by this. And also because it breaks my heart. I hate looking around and seeing mediocrity whenever I can see more in everyone else around me than they see in themselves. That's messed up. But that's the reality of it. So then I start thinking, why is that? Well, why is it that some people care and some people don't? Why is it that such a small majority care about themselves and the others don't? And it's because they don't care about their future.
Or they're not aware that their current situation impacts that.
Well, why are they not aware of it? Because they're distracted. They have no self-awareness because they're distracted. Because all of society is distracted. We live distracted. So that's why I want to do this episode. I wanted people to listen to it and maybe just start reframing their thought processes. When they go to a fast food restaurant or they grab a 12-pack of beer or whatever it is, they ask themselves, is this setting future me up for success? If I do this right now, how's this going to impact me tomorrow? How's this going to impact me in a week? How's this going to impact me a year from now?
It's a very powerful question.
Right.
Very powerful.
So we need to start asking ourselves this question. This is how I've always lived. For as long as I can remember, this is how it's been. I don't know why that is, but everything I do is for future me. But even when it comes down to the food we eat healthy food to give us energy. That way we can perform in the gym. You know, you do a little carb load, eat a bunch of rice, potatoes, whatever it is before you go hit a good workout session. That is so you have energy and strength to have a great workout. Whenever you're eating that meal in the present, it is so you can have success into the future. Whenever we are reading books, especially like self-help type books, the reason you're reading a self-help type book is because you realized that something is wrong with you and you want to eliminate that from your life. Well, why do you want to eliminate it? So you don't have to deal with it in the future. So when we start reframing that thought process and we go, okay, is my actions right now in the present moment setting me up for success in the future? That's a game changer. But not enough people are asking themselves that question. And I think another way to word this as well is, if I love myself, would I do this? Because those two play hand in hand together. If you don't love yourself, then you're not going to care where you are later on down the road. But if you do, then you want the best for future you. And time doesn't ever stop. That's something that we don't realize as well, that we don't think about enough. Time is always going. And if you don't get your shit together right now, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to have a lot of regret. And that's the last thing that you want. Yeah, things are going to happen. You might get into an argument with someone. You might just have a weekend bender or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, there are plenty of things that we can do, and later on down the road, we're like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. But to wake up and realize that 50 years of your life has been a waste, that is the one thing that we need to avoid. Because it can happen like that. Before you know it, life has passed you by and you don't have anything to show for it. Your health is shit. Your financial situation is shit. And the reason it is for pleasure and being comfortable right now. Because let's be real, that's why. That is why we don't take the necessary actions for our future self to set us up for success. It's because we want pleasure right now. And we don't give a fuck about how that plays out into the future. Maybe I shouldn't eat this extra large pizza. Well, I don't really care. That's future me's problem. That is you. That is where you're going to be a week from now. Do what needs to get done. And I'm not like trying to say you can't still enjoy life. You know what I mean? Have a couple beers with your friends every once in a while.
It's just like everything else, man. It comes down to a very fine balance.
But also,
very fine.
But I will say this as well. Be real with yourself and be hungry for success. There's a reason that we admire these heavy hitters, the ones that are just on top of their game. Well, the reason they're on top of their game is because this is how they think all the time. They're always thinking about, how is this going to impact me in the future? What do I need to do right now to set me up for success in the future? And if you want success, which is why you're probably listening to this podcast, because this is a self-help podcast in all reality, you're doing that because you care about future you. Well, start applying that to every aspect of your life. And don't bullshit yourself. If you want to eat pizza 5 times a week, that's up to you. But you need to be thinking about this. Is that something, is it worth it? That's it. Is it worth it? Because all these things come with repercussions. If I have a couple beers with my friends, I realize I'm not going to be on my A game tomorrow. And if I have a big day that I need to tackle, is having a few beers worth it? Just so I can have a little bit of enjoyment right now? To me, a lot of times, no. But these are the kind of questions I ask myself. If I drink right now, how's this going to impact me tomorrow? Well, I'm probably going to be feeling like shit tomorrow, meaning I'm not going to get as much shit done. Would I enjoy a beer right now? For sure. Absolutely. Is it worth it? No. Because I have these goals that I want to accomplish. And the only thing standing in your way of accomplishing your goals is you. That's it. There is nothing else. But that's what it boils down to.
It's been something that I've really focused on lately too. Just asking myself, well, how does this set me up for success in the future? And once you switch that perspective, it happens with everything that you do.
Well, you start feeling guilty. That's what I've noticed. I will start feeling guilty if I do things I know is not in my best interest. And that's another way to put it. Is this in my best interest? As me as a whole, is this in my best interest? If I do this right now, is this best for me? That's a deep question to ask, but it's an important question to ask. And maybe that's the whole thing here. Maybe we don't ask ourselves enough questions. We don't want to for some reason.
Because it can be very painful when we do.
Yeah. What's wrong with me? That's a question, right? Yeah. What's wrong with me?
It's hard to admit that.
Yeah.
It's hard to admit your flaws.
Because then you're going to start figuring out, because that's what the brain does. When you ask the brain a question, the brain goes into overdrive to try to figure it out. Well, this also applies to you. What's going on inside of you? What emotions are you dealing with? What thoughts are you dealing with? What is making your life, what is causing you suffering in life? You can figure that out by simply asking yourself. But the thing here is that we don't ask ourselves enough questions. We're asking everybody else, what do they think? But we're not asking ourselves, what do we think? We're not listening to that true self that is within, because we don't want to know. We're scared. We're terrified of it. You're terrified of yourself. You don't care about your future self, and you're terrified of it. That's something like we need to work on. If that is an issue, we need to address that.
Switching that perspective for me has made me enjoy the present so much more.
For sure.
It definitely does.
Well, you get fulfillment from it.
Yeah. So even, just working out is a good example. Like hiking is a good example. But I know, like, I'm enjoying myself in that moment. But I also know that I'm bettering myself for future me.
You get a dopamine release from it.
It drives a lot of my day-to-day actions.
As it should.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is you can start living your life like that. Whenever you really grasp this idea that we're talking about and you start applying it to your daily life, everything that you do will help dictate that, right? Like this just becomes second nature. There's been times when I'm laying in bed at night and I'll realize I'm like, I didn't do this. I'm like, and my conscience will kick in. And it was like, you need to get your ass up and do it, because future you depends on this. This might derail you a little bit. My ass gets out of bed and I do it. And it's because I cannot go to sleep. Because at this point in my life, like that is what matters to me, is setting my future self up for success. So this is a habit. It's like anything else. This is a habit that you can acquire. Taking the necessary actions now to set you up for success in the future. But that requires discipline. It requires being uncomfortable and being okay with discomfort. Discomfort is good. The only way that you grow is through discomfort. If you're working out in the gym, you're breaking down that muscle. You're going to absolute failure on an exercise. That's discomfort. If you're going for a hard run, that's discomfort. If you're doing Muay Thai, you're just like, you're sparring with someone.
Extreme discomfort.
Right. Like if you're going for a gnarly ruck.
In the best way possible.
Exactly. It's beautiful. It is a beautiful thing. Suffering is beautiful. Even depression. I've dealt with that. Just severe depression. There's something beautiful to that as well. My little girl, I was talking, this is a very just small thing. But when we can switch our perspective on this kind of stuff, I think it's important. But my little girl was talking about how she missed someone yesterday. And I said, well, that's a good thing. And she said, why is it good? And I said, because it means that you love that person. When you miss someone, yeah, like it's kind of sad. You're sad because you miss someone. Well, that doesn't mean it's a negative emotion. You miss this person because you love them. So that's discomfort, that feeling of missing someone. And this is like a weird example maybe, but hopefully it gets the point across. We try to avoid everything. We try to avoid anything that causes us discomfort, when in all reality, that discomfort is good. So getting into the habit of doing the things that you don't necessarily want to do for future you, well, that just becomes who you are as a person. That becomes part of your identity. I'm going to run. I'm going to work out. I'm going to eat good food.
It becomes an addiction in the best way possible.
Self-improvement is the most addicting thing in the world. That's the best way I can put it. And I've thought about this too. Like, it gets to the point where you start seeing results and you get addicted to those results.
And it's not just that. It's also how you build yourself, how you build your confidence and find out what you're really made of. You don't find that out by sitting in your comfort zone. You find that out by pushing your limits to that absolute max.
There is no actual limit, though. That's the most beautiful part about this whole thing. There is no actual limit. You push yourself to a new extreme and you go, holy shit, I didn't realize I was capable of achieving that. But then you go, well, what else can I do? And there's the thing. There's always something more. This is the one thing in life that you cannot cap out. Like, there is no ceiling on this. We put a ceiling on ourselves, and that's mankind's biggest problem, especially in the modern age, is we put a ceiling on ourselves. Oh, I can't accomplish that. Says you. You are the only person telling yourself this. Other people might, but they don't matter. You are telling yourself that you are not capable of achieving something when you are. The reason that you're never going to achieve it is because you've placed a ceiling on yourself. Well, how do we raise this ceiling? Is by putting ourselves through discomfort, by working towards these goals, not giving up on them. We continue working towards them, no matter what it takes. We raise that ceiling with every single accomplishment. We discover what we are capable of, and then we get hungry for it. That's where that comes from, and it doesn't take a lot. All it takes is little small steps and sticking to them. Consistency, that is like the one thing. If you want a successful future for yourself, and success can be described in a million different ways, right? To me, success is freedom.
Well, it's very personal to everyone. Personal. Like everyone's idea of success for themselves is going to be.
Well, the issue is that success nowadays is based on monetary and materialism. That's not success. Good health is success. Being able to spend quality time with your family is success. Doing what you want to do in life is success. So we need to reframe that as well, maybe. Because working towards materialistic items isn't going to give you enough ambition to actually set future you up for success. You might think it will, but it's not real. It doesn't give enough emotion. You need to do these things that just make you feel absolutely fulfilled. And if you can find those things and you can work towards obtaining those into your regular life, that is success. When you're waking up in the morning just being like, I love my life, not because of money, not because you own this house, not because you own this car, but because you just love life. You love what you do on a daily basis. That is success.
That is something that can never be taken from you.
No, you can't.
You can buy a fancy car. You can have a nice house. Life happens. You might, God forbid, someone repossesses your car because you're behind on payments. But when you get to the bare bones of things and you're happy just living, nobody can take that away from you.
Well, how do we get to that point? By taking action right now. Deciding where we want to be. What does that look like? Maybe that's the blueprint here. Because once again, we didn't map out this episode. We just started talking, which is cool. Maybe that's how we get there. We define what success looks like for us, not on monetary value, not through materialistic items or anything like that, but what does success look like? If I was to have a perfect life where I just feel amazing, what do I need to do right now? And then visualize that. Visualize your future. Like I said, I visualize myself at 50. I know what that looks like. And every action I take is setting me up for that. But that's because I visualize it every single day. I have for years. It has not changed. And there's no doubt in my mind that this is how it's going to play out. But it's because every action I take right now is doing that. I don't do anything really necessarily in the present moment. Like I live in the present moment as much as possible. And by that, I mean, I decide what I need to do. And then my attention goes towards that. If I'm working in the present moment. I'm not distracted by my phone or anything like that. If I'm working out in the present moment. If I'm spending time with my girlfriend or my kid or my friends, I'm not distracted by anything else. I'm living in the present moment. I'm taking in this experience. But at the same time, my ambitions, my goals, what gets me up in the morning with that fire burning is that vision of where I want to be in the future. So that is the most powerful thing that we can do here. Decide where you want to be in the future. And I'm not saying you can't have a nice car, you can't have a nice house. Of course, obtain those things, but realize that that's not real success. Because I know a lot of people that own all that shit and they're fucking miserable. I know a lot of them actually.
I would say the majority of people that, we put into that category, if you were to take all those things away, they would be the most unhappy people.
And that's what it boils down to. Happiness is success. When we define success, it boils down to that. Am I happy? And if you can say yes to that, then you are successful. It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank account. Maybe you have a lot. Maybe you don't have a lot. That doesn't matter. Are you successful? When you wake up in the morning, are you happy? That is success. So it's visualizing what that looks like for you because it depends on the individual. Visualize what you want your future to look like. Hopefully it involves good health. Maybe you do have a bunch of damn money, sick. But you're also surrounded by your family and you're happy. And then Start deciding right now what you need to do for that to happen. I can guarantee you it includes exercise. It includes continuing education. What's another one?
Strengthening relationships.
Strengthening relationships.
Your diet.
Not neglecting those that you care about for work or whatever it is. Your diet, eating healthy. You taking time for yourself.
That might be number one.
That is number one, because the rest doesn't fall into place unless you're taking care of yourself first, unless you want to take care of yourself. And that's what this boils down to. You need to have enough self-love for yourself to want the best for yourself in the future. And if you can do that, that is success. But that needs to be the question that you ask yourself every day. Every action that you take, is this setting future me up for success? And if the answer is no, reconsider doing it. And ask yourself this all the time. And then it becomes second nature, and it's just a soundtrack that plays in your head.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Norse Mentality. This podcast is a byproduct of Norse Fitness. We make clothing, fitness accessories, supplements, and other tools to help you reach your true potential. You can check it out at norsefitness.co. And if you found this episode beneficial, please share it with a friend. That way we can continue to make a bigger impact and change the world. Thank you for your support, and we'll talk to you soon.